Good evening. Legislative Day number 10 will now come to order. Please pause for a moment of silent meditation. I'll now call upon Councilman Patoka to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Is there a motion to approve the journal for the meeting of April the 17th?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. The journal is approved. Enrollment of bills. Bills 14-23 and 15-23 were passed by the council, signed by the executive, and hereby enrolled. Mr. Secretary, will you now read all bills for introduction?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. There are three bills for introduction this evening at the request of the administration. First is Bill 34-23, Employees Retirement System. Next is Bill 35-23, Current Expense Budget Emergency Rental Assistance Program 2. And finally, Bill 36-22, Cannabis Facilities.
Okay. Next item, Mr. Secretary.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is the council's consideration of the nomination by the county executive for appointment as the next director of the Department of Recreation and Parks, Mr. Robert Smith.
Mr. Robert Smith, AKA Bob Smith. Right? Yes, before you get started, Mr. Smith, I would ask you to introduce our guest this evening, your guest.
Certainly. With me tonight, I have my wife Shannon and my daughter Hannah.
If they would be so kind as to stand so we know who they are. Oh, there you go. Hello, hello, hello.
And online, my son Connor is watching from home.
Okay.
And then my my mother and father, Bob and Becky Smith.
Oh. Thank you so much for coming.
And then my work family from Recreation and Parks. Quite a few of them this evening.
All right, stand up, work family. Very good, very good. We welcome each and every one of you and thank you for joining us today. And Bob, take it away.
Certainly. Good evening, Council Chair and members of County Council. I'm very honored to be here as a nominee for the Director of the Department of Recreation and Parks. I would also like to thank the CE and his administration for this nomination, as well as Madam CAO and Deputy CAO Elizabeth Sachs for their support during my acting role. I would like to thank the team at Recreation and Parks because only through their efforts and their dedication to the agency does our mission get accomplished. I've mentioned previously my long history with the agency and the county, but today I will speak not on the past, but on our future. I've only done two things professionally. First, I was a soldier, and second, I became a recreation professional. Oddly enough, both are similar. They value teamwork and a high level of dedication to service. They put the greater community first, and it is this avenue of service and community that we will look to move the agency forward. For service to our outstanding team members in the agency, we will continue to professionalize our team, provide them opportunities to learn and improve their skills and support them at all levels. We will challenge them to be better, which we know they can do. They are our agency's most valuable asset. Second, service to our partners and stakeholders. We will continue to work with our various partners, other county agencies, community members, advocacy groups, and our associated recreation and nature councils. These groups all represent an opportunity for greater levels of collaboration and cooperation. We will seek to find new partners and new opportunities to bring other groups together with us. Together with them, we can be more impactful. And finally, we will focus on our service to the community. We will strive to improve our facilities, both bringing our older, more loved sites up to modern standards, as well as adding new assets where appropriate. We will work to provide recreational opportunity in areas and to groups that may not have had them in the past. all on a mission to provide the best recreation experience to the county, the residents, and the visitors to our sites and activities. The service will be our focus. It will take work, it'll be a challenge, and we will make some mistakes, and at times it will be difficult as we reimagine what our agency looks like and how it operates. But our team is ready for the challenge, and it would be a privilege to lead them. I respectfully request approval for my nomination.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions or comments from the members?
Yes,
Councilman
Mr. Chair.
Crandall?
Bob, congratulations again.
Thank you, sir.
As I mentioned during your first budget hearing, hopefully one of many, that, you know, it was really good to see you involved and at the ESP opening, spring opening parade this past weekend. I know you're going to do a great job. You've always done a great job. I do want to thank you for bringing your family up. It's good to see your mom and dad. Just to, I know that Councilman Catch wishes that you were part of the, you know, lived in the 3rd district or hailed from the 3rd district, but this is just proof, Councilman Catch, that the best come from the 7th district. So, Bob, just congratulations. Look forward to working with you. Always worked with you, and look forward to the coming years.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Councilman Marks?
Thank you very much. This was an outstanding appointment by the county executive. Mr. Smith, it's been a pleasure working with you. You bring along a record of service in recreation and parks. You bring a history of responsiveness to this council and to community and recreation leaders. And you also think outside of the box, right? You recognize the importance of intergenerational programming, particularly with a county that has 25% of its citizens as senior citizens. And also in looking at different ways of designing our recreation programs. We talk a lot about pickleball, right? All of us up here on this dais get requests for more pickleball courts, but also things like having a cricket field in Baltimore County, which is increasingly popular with many people, particularly from Asia. So, you know, you bring great qualities to this position, and I look forward to not only supporting you, but also working with you.
Looking forward to it, sir.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr.
Yellow.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Bob, it's a real honor for me to have the opportunity to support you for nomination for the Director of Rec and Parks. I think you can tell by the members of this council, especially your council member, the great respect and admiration he has for my district. And the jealousy is, well, you know, a bit, well, I hate to see people jealous and wishing that they could, anyhow, won't go there. But actually, I've been to Sparrows Point. It's a very nice area. And I'm just not saying that. I really do mean it. And I understand you went to high school there. And
Yes, sir.
Middle, was it junior or middle when you went?
It was junior high when I went there, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Junior and high school there.
High school. So anyhow, you have done a fantastic job with working with constituents. You listen and act. And I appreciate that so much. And I think that you're representative of this administration, which has really put an emphasis on constituent service and listening to the people who live in the district. So thank you so much. And I guess now that I've said all these nice things, I'll get what I want.
No guarantee of that, sir.
You know, I expected that answer from you, but I seriously appreciate all that you've done for the district and look forward to working with you in the future. I know you'll do an outstanding job because you already are. And thank you very much. And I apologize to his wife and daughter because I'm sure that he's going to be out quite a bit in this job. I had him up at Pretty Boy Elementary School a couple of weeks ago, and I know he didn't get home till late. So thank you for your patience. Thank you very much, and it's good to meet and see his mother and father. I know you're very proud, and as you should be. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Councilman Patoka.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Smith, I really wish you well. I think you're an outstanding nominee for this position. It's great to see your family, your wife and your son, mom and dad. Proud day, and thank you for coming. You couldn't do the job without the support of your family. And I think
Good night, sir.
really, really important. I think you said your son is watching as well. I heard one of the most interesting compliments to you this afternoon. I think it was one of my colleagues said this. They said, Bob Smith is the Rob McCullough of Rec and Parks. Thought, what a great compliment. And so,
That is
I
a
mean,
compliment, sir.
it made me think through this, my vote today. It makes it really easy in my mind to support your nomination. So I wish you well. And
Thank you, sir.
thank you for stepping in to take this job. Thank you.
Additional questions or comments? Well, Bob, I just want to take this opportunity to congratulate you in advance. You have demonstrated the type of professionalism and the type of qualities that are truly important. You've done it for many, many years. I can't think of a time that I called you that you haven't returned my call. And I just think you're a stand-up, excellent individual who's doing a fantastic job. And I was always in your corner and continue to be, and know that you're going to do a great job. And it's just a reminder so many times that, we look around the world for talent, when in fact we have talent right here. And I want to congratulate the county executive for picking you and nominating you, because I think you're going to do a wonderful job, and I don't think we can do any better. So
Thank you,
we're
sir.
stuck with you.
Yes, sir.
And of course, thank your family for coming out. We certainly appreciate you being here in support of Bob. I'm sure he appreciates it. I know we do. So any additional questions or comments?
Move the nomination.
It's been moved.
Second.
It's been seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Ertel,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall.
Aye.
It's unanimous. The ayes have it. Congratulations. Thank you.
There we go. There it is.
Bob, you're not done yet.
Other business.
Okay. Well, before we do that, well, I'll go out of order a little bit. Let me just take this opportunity, without further ado, I just want to take this opportunity to recognize that U.S. Senator Ben Cardin has decided today that he would no longer seek reelection to the United States Senate. And I guess for those of us, most of us in the room, Senator Cardin was first elected to office in 1967. I think the only person that comes close is my neighbor here. He was elected in 1967, and he was the Speaker of the House for 8 years. He was there, 78 to 86, and he was elected to the United States Senate in 2006. So he has a total of 56 years of service serving the citizens of Maryland. He has been a wonderful leader. He's worked on a number of bipartisan bills throughout his career, and he told me today he's actually working on some more today. So he still has a couple of more years before he leaves, but I wanted to just take an opportunity for this body to recognize him and his accomplishments and just thank him very much for his service and leadership here for the state of Maryland. I think we all owe him a round of applause at least.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to point out that Senator Cardin is a resident of the beautiful Second District of Baltimore County, and wish him well in his future endeavors.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Yeah, you go in my office, you'll see a picture of me in January 1979 being sworn into the House of Delegates by the then Speaker, Ben Cardin. He was before that the chairman of Ways and Means, and he was always bipartisan. And, he's a wonderful person, does a great job. Some of the things he says I have problems with, but I really admire him very much and thank him for his service to the state of Maryland. He got us through the savings and loan crisis back in the late 1970s and so many other things. He also had a lot to do with formulas that fund education. And so he's also the circuit breaker, which I can explain it to you at another time. But he's left his mark on the state of Maryland and of course on the national scene. So I wish him well in his retirement. As I think, of course, that's right. I guess this advice I would give him isn't really that appropriate, but I've told everyone else when they retire to go to the Christmas markets in Europe, but I don't think that would be quite, I don't know, what do you,
They celebrate Hanukkah in Europe.
okay.
All right,
But
there
he
you
could
go.
go to the Christmas Hanukkah markets in Europe.
Well, let me just say that not only has he provided tremendous service to the state of Maryland, but also to the United States of America. He's been a leader on so many fronts. So
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said. Senator Cardin would always have a town hall meeting at Pickersgill Retirement Community and always made sure to include me. And I think his spirit of collegiality and bipartisanship is sadly missing in the country today, and including in the Senate on both sides of the aisle. He will be missed.
thank you. So on that note, back. Next item, Mr. Secretary.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Next on the agenda is the council's consideration of Resolution 7-23. This is the adoption of the 2022 Land Preservation Parks and Recreation Plan.
All right. Director Bob Smith.
This resolution is required for the purpose of adopting the 2022 Land Preservation Parks and Recreation Plan, the LPPRP, as a Baltimore County Master Plan addendum. The state of Maryland requires that counties submit a formally adopted LPPRP every 5 years as a mandatory step in maintaining eligibility for Maryland Program Open Space funding. POS funding is allocated to the counties annually and is a key source for park acquisition, development, and enhancements. The LPPRP, like other Baltimore County plans, serves as an advisory document and is but one medium for establishing capital priorities for the Department of Recreation and Parks' capital budget. The LPPRP, being a master plan addendum, was first approved by the Baltimore County Planning Board. The 2022 LPPRP was approved by the Planning Board at the March 16th, 2023 meeting. The public hearing associated with the Planning Board's approval was March 2nd, and no requests for edits were received. Upon County Council approval of the LPPRP, The final plan will be submitted to the Maryland Department of Natural Resources and the Maryland Department of Planning. Some information from the local LPPRPs is incorporated in the state's LPPRP, which is itself submitted to the federal government to maintain eligibility for Land and Water Conservation Fund funding.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions, comments from the members? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve Resolution 7-23?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll of Resolution 7-23.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Ertel?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Resolution 7-23 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please. Thank you, Bob.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is the council's consideration and confirmation of the county executive's nomination of, for acting director of the Department of Economic and Workforce Development, Dr. Jennifer Lynch.
Dr. Lynch, how are you doing? Good, good, good. Do we have anyone with us? No?
No, as you know, I have 5 children and they are all in different sporting events tonight. So they're off doing their thing.
What about your father? He should have some time. He should have some time.
He should. He
We're giving
should.
him a paycheck. We're giving him retirement. We're giving him money.
I'll let him know that you missed him.
Absolutely.
It is a pleasure to see all of you here this evening. It was an honor to be able to speak to you last week and give you a little bit of my background and my history, as well as my vision for the Department of Economic Workforce Development in this interim space as we seek a permanent director. I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to continue to work with all of you. For many of you, we've already had conversations about your districts and what we need to do in order to help the local businesses and workforce in your area. And as well, we intend to continue to look more broadly at a strategic plan across the Baltimore County in order to look for both workforce and economic development opportunities that best meet the needs of all of Baltimore County. So I hope that you will approve my acting position here tonight, and we can have the opportunity to continue to work together.
Fantastic. Any questions or comments from the members? Councilman Patoka?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Lynch, we discussed this briefly at the work session, but I would just hope that the Department of Economic and Workforce Development stays keenly focused on our aging commercial corridors. In the Second District has Reisterstown Road and Liberty Road and Woodlawn Village, the areas that need the county to assist in its growth and its revitalization. So just wanted to point that out today during your confirmation. And I'm hopeful that you'll keep that in mind as forward.
Absolutely, sir. And I think you'll be excited to learn that we already have our data team working on both mapping those corridors, as well as looking what the industry sectors are around Baltimore County, where we have gaps and opportunities to look more creatively at what we can start to bring to Baltimore County.
Okay, thank you.
Fantastic. So, Dr. Lynch, let me just thank you so much for your call this weekend.
Mhm.
I think it was this weekend, right? My days,
Yes.
I can't keep track. But thank you for your call. Thank you for your visit to my district. I appreciate your diligence. Appreciate you taking the time to do the visit and weigh in. And I've known you for some time, and I believe you're a very hardworking, diligent person. And I think you're going to do well. I think that it's a very important job, economic development. And to be quite frank, I think we can do so much more in terms of trying to attract businesses to Baltimore County. Sometimes I think we're successful in spite of ourselves. We're just successful. And because of that, we sort of lay back and just let it come. But I think we could do so much more if we actively engage in going out here, searching, seeking out companies to come here in Baltimore County. So I appreciate that. Councilman Mark?
Yeah, and very briefly, I just want to repeat what I said at the work session, the importance of the waterfront, the marketing of the waterfront, and also developing blueprint for dealing with places like White Marsh Mall
Mhm.
I know we've successfully regenerated a lot of our other shopping centers and malls, but that one is definitely my focus. Good luck in your new position.
Thank you, sir. And I'm just going to make a little plug for Enjoy Baltimore County right now. So if you go to our Twitter page, it is now back and running. So you'll start to see more activity there, as well as enjoybaltimorecounty.com. So anybody who's looking for those tourism opportunities should definitely take a look, as well as we are getting ready for a master refresh of our tourism. So I think over the next few months into the fall, I think you're going to see a lot of opportunity, a lot of change.
Is there a motion to approve the
So
appointment?
moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Urtel?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Ayes have it. The appointment is confirmed. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Dr. Lynch, we're going to need you two more times. Next on the agenda, Mr. Chairman, is the council's consideration of Resolution 8-23. This is a resolution that seeks the council's support of an application for the redesignation of the Southwest Enterprise Zone.
All
Good
right.
evening.
Good
Again.
evening.
The Maryland Enterprise Zone program was established by the Maryland General Assembly and gives local governments the legal authority to offer economic incentives, including real property and income tax credits. The Department of Commerce has designated the state agency responsible. However, each zone is the creation and responsibility of county governments. And as part of that application, a resolution for the local jurisdiction must also be included. Tonight, I bring before you the Southwest Enterprise Zone renewal. This was a zone that encompasses 660 acres and was formerly designated in 1996 and has been re-established in 2003 and 2013. I bring it to you tonight for redesignation.
Thank you very much. Are any questions or comments from the members? Is there a motion to approve Resolution 8-23?
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Urtel?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Resolution 8-23 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is the council's consideration of Resolution 9-23. This resolution seeks the support of the council for the application for designation of the Woodlawn Enterprise Zone.
Dr. Lynch?
In a similar vein, the Woodlawn Enterprise Zone is also a zone that would allow for both real property and income tax credits. This Woodlawn Enterprise Zone is a reworking of the zone that was formerly designated in 2011 as the Federal Center at Woodlawn. This has been slightly expanded to include the Security Square Mall area, and you should have revised maps. I put this before you tonight for approval.
Very much. Any questions, comments from the members? Okay, hearing. Okay, is there a motion to approve Resolution 9-23?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 9-23.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Urtel?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Resolution 9-23 is passed. We'll now move on final reading and vote of bills. Mr. Secretary, first item, please.
First, Mr. Chairman, is Bill 16-23, Current Expense Budget, Continuum of Care Planning, McKinney Emergency Shelter Grants.
Hey. Director Hickey, how are you doing? At some point, can you fill me in on what's going on with Hannah Moore? Maybe later or have somebody call me. It's like on my mind. I meant to make a phone call today. I didn't.
Got it.
Hannah Moore and Shepherd Pratt.
We got it.
Gotcha.
Alrighty. Well, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the council. I'm here again on behalf of the administration to request a supplemental appropriation of federal funds totaling $183,888. This is comprised of Continuum of Care Planning Funds and Emergency Solution Grant Funds. The supplemental appropriation is being requested to account for a higher than expected allocation from HUD this year. These funds will be used generally to assist individuals who are at risk of homelessness in Baltimore County. Happy to answer any questions.
Fantastic. Any questions, comments from the members? Appreciate your work. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 16-23.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Ertel,
Aye.
Mr. Marks.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Bill 16-23 is passed. Next item, Mr. Secretary.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is Bill 17-23, Current Expense Budget, Homeless Solutions Program, HSP, State Department of Housing and Community Development.
We will
Dave.
move from federal to state funding. I'm here again on behalf of the administration requesting a supplemental appropriation of state funds totaling $157,206 from the Homeless Solutions Program administered by state DHCD. Like I explained at the work session, we had a limited window of opportunity to request additional funding from the state. We applied. We were granted those funds. This will be used to increase the allocations to 5 of our nonprofit providers and also the agency itself to support a variety of services and activities that respond to and prevent homelessness. DHCD estimates that the Homelessness Solutions Program total in Baltimore County will serve approximately 2,300 clients in fiscal year 23.
Okay, well, you know what we like to say around here in the county council, don't you? As it relates, especially as it relates to federal and state money. Show us the money, we'll take it
Go. And use it well.
and use it well. Any questions or comments from the members? All right, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 17-23.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Ertel,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Guys have it. Bill 17-23 is passed. Next item, Mr. Secretary. Thank you.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is Bill 18-23, Rental Housing Licenses.
Director Pete Gutwall.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. Bill 1823 expands the county's rental registration program to require all apartment complexes and dwellings operating as a rental housing in Baltimore County to maintain a rental housing license. Under the current law, property owners of dwellings with 6 or fewer dwelling units may not rent a dwelling unit or a portion of the dwelling unit unless the property owner has been issued a rental license. Bill 1823 expands the license and inspection requirements to apply to all multifamily apartment complexes and dwellings with greater than 6 rental units. Under this proposed bill, property owners of dwellings with 7 or more dwelling units and apartment complexes may apply for a rental license with no inspection if they self-certify that the units and premises meet all the health and safety requirements. So there'll be a self-certification for the first 3 years. For dwellings and apartments that incur 3 adjudicated violations in a 3-year time period would be ineligible to self-certify. And in this situation, the property owners must obtain a certificate from a state licensed home inspector that certifies at least 10% of the dwelling units and all of the premises have been inspected and meet the applicable health and safety requirements, life safety requirements. Finally, the Bill 1823 amends an exception to the rental housing license title for owner-occupied dwellings to clarify that it includes individuals related as family by blood, marriage, or adoption, and strikes the specific restriction to grandparents, parents, children, and grandchildren, similar to what we did with the accessory apartments law. Take any
Okay,
questions?
any questions or comments from the members? Councilman Marks?
Thank you. Mr. Gutwald, I certainly understand the intent of this bill, but can you explain the workload? Do we have the workload to carry this out? Do we have the personnel to carry this out?
So we're hoping that this, at this point in time, currently with any violations, we do the inspections through code enforcement. We do enforce complaints and violations within all these types of units to begin with. So that's not an additional workload. The workload would come with licensings or rentals, and we're working through our technology advances because a lot of these things it's already incorporated to sort of like in the GIS system. So we're creating one license for the entire complex. So if it's 8 units, that's one license. If it's 600 units, it's still only one license. So the idea is to create a system within our current software package that we can have one license, but we'll have all the units identified. So if there is violations, we can track. Currently, we can't track it by apartment complex. So that's what we have to do. And that's where the heavy lifting will be done in the next, couple of months. So outside of that, it should be a technological transformation, download a database system.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Gutwald, I've gotten a call from a constituent who's very upset over this particular legislation. So I had him call a group that represents his industry. And I understand that that group has worked with you and the administration to work out any issues that they may have. I looked at the amendments that have been proposed. Are they the amendments that were worked out with the industry?
Yes, those are 2 of the amendments. They have proposed additional ones, but we accepted 2 of their
2 of their amendments. Okay. And
but we had been working with them long before, under the original draft of the legislation. We've been going back and forth for many months before we even finished drafting the legislation. So
it wasn't done. This has been
going
ongoing
on for,
process.
over a year, for close to a year now. Yeah.
Now, with a large apartment complex, the certificate of inspection, whatever, just would go to the complex in general. It's certainly not going to go to each unit.
No, the self-certification would be for the whole apartment complex. Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, because I understand that should someone not pay the rent and the landlord have to have that person removed, that that certificate is needed.
So the certificate for the whole complex. Yes. Yep.
Mhm. And that suffices. Okay. Thank you very much.
Sure. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, thank you. I'm kind of struggling with this bill a bit because of the workload it's going to produce. And I've also been contacted, Councilman Catch, I think by the same person, who contends that it's just not needed. Can you just in a very succinct way tell us why this is needed?
In a very succinct way is to deal with the bad actors, basically people that are not maintaining their apartment complexes or units. So that's a very succinct, as I can get. We believe that a majority of these will not have problems. We know, on occasions, and one of the things we talked about with the multifamily association was that we go through community sweeps, and sometimes we'll tag them with trash can lids not being on and those kinds of things. We're going to work out a process so when we do community sweeps, we have all these contacts, and we will give them a heads up that we are coming in and doing a community sweep, so they don't get flagged with the simple things like trash can lids not being on the trash cans, that kind of stuff. So we're not unduly making a hardship for somebody. One of the reasons why we wanted to self-certify and not have every unit inspected was because that is it does require it disrupts their tenants, and they have to schedule it, and the tenant has to be available for their schedules. That's why we wanted to go through this process of self-certification, because I understand it could upset a lot of the different tenants because now you have to arrange all those different inspections for all those different units. So I think what we're trying to do is make this as simple as possible, but also incorporate and be able to execute, if you will, on the individuals that are not providing quality care or quality living arrangements. And that's really the true meaning and direction for this piece of legislation.
And I guess my perspective's changing a bit. When I represented the Towson area, I dealt with apartment companies that were easy to work with. Continental Realty comes to mind. Whenever I had an issue with students, for example, they worked with me. They were great to work with. Apartment services, they've been great to work with. But I can understand your point about the bad actors. And I look at Essex and Middle River, and there are bad actors out there.
Absolutely.
So
The home builders, I mean, the multifamily, they've been great to work with. I mean, and I mean, Adam, my chief of enforcement has great relationships with a lot of those property managers as well. So they know him, they interact with him regularly. So, yeah, for the ones that are communicating and with us and being good actors, I don't foresee this as being that heavy of a workload, and I think it'll be, a good thing for everybody.
So I do have a question that's going to pick up sort of like a little more in depth where Councilman Marks left off. So what specifically will this bill, what tool does it give us that we did not have before in terms of dealing with bad actors?
So it'll give us an inventory of how, a way to track when they're not being good actors. How long have they not been a good actor? And it'll allow us to move forward with further legal procedures of getting them to be a good actor or getting them to compliant with the livability code. It gives us an extra tool to adjudicate things and get those people in line and get that building up to the livability code. It
Is
gives us
this in terms of not giving them a license?
in terms of creating the license so we can track the apartment complex. Right now, we don't have that capabilities. We're kind of out of that. That's not there. So this allows us to track this one thing by the license and who's the contact individuals and working with them when, like I said, for the most of this, it's not going to be a big deal, but there are individuals that we have a very difficult time tracking and or getting in contact information when we do have issues with those apartment complexes.
Okay. Any additional questions or comments from the members? Understand that there are some amendments to Bill 18-23. Mr. Secretary?
Yes, sir, there is, Mr. Chairman. As Mr. Gutwald alluded, there is a self-certifying component to this bill, which is partly dependent on the number of violations in the 3-year period that have been fully adjudicated. The amendment clarifies that adjudicated is by the administrative law judge and not under an appeal. So that clarifies that term. And then the other amendment would change the effective date from 45 days after enactment to 90 days after enactment.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from the members?
Oh, and the sponsor, of course, was the administration.
Okay.
Move the amendment.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
So, absolutely.
With the provision of not under appeal, ruling of the what's it called?
Administrative law judge.
What's that?
Administrative law judge?
No, I'm sorry, the administrative law judge. The appeal goes to the Board of Appeals, correct? Okay, then
Yes, sir.
that can be appealed to the circuit court,
Correct.
and that can be appealed to the, what is it
It's now
called?
the Maryland Appellate Court,
And then that can go even higher, correct?
potentially.
So,
Yes.
so what exactly does that mean? Does that mean that it can be, that you can't find you can't determine that a owner of an apartment, that the apartment's substandard and that person decides to go through all these levels of appeal?
I think it means that if that fully adjudicated, if someone does not take, if most likely, well, not most likely, it will be the apartment complex. If the apartment complex is found to be in violation, as it says, 3 health and safety violations in the past 3 years. If the complex is found to be in violation by the administrative law judge and does not take an appeal of that finding, then that is fully adjudicated. However, if the apartment complex did take an appeal to the Board of Appeals and then even kept going further, as you mentioned, then that would not be fully adjudicated until it went through all of those other levels.
So that could take a couple years.
It could take time, a
Yeah.
good deal of time. It depends on how worth it, frankly, it is to the apartment complex to whether they want to invest the time and resources to contest that based on vis-a-vis what is required under this bill. In other words, is the juice going to be worth the squeeze on that?
Just a question for Pete. Would it make more sense to limit it to the circuit court? Because I mean, you're talking about a process that could take apartment complex that is substandard or problems. This could drag out a lot longer than it probably should.
I understand your concern, but the bottom line is that there must be, in order for, I would suggest her that if it's gone to the Board of Appeals and it's gone to other levels, there is a questionable in there that if it, they're arguing the livability standard or whatever the complaint has been or what the violation has been. So there's been some justification met to go to the next level for them to fight, as Mr. Boswick was saying, it would be a questionable violation, and it would not be that they are living necessarily in substandard, or it's questioning whether they're living in substandard conditions. And that's why, I mean, we've agreed that, if this is continuing to be argued at another level, we would allow them to continue being self-certified.
So, but that could take 2 years.
I do. I understand that it could take time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, don't necessarily think that is the public interest. So I really believe that people of the county would be better served cut it off at the circuit court. So you could to the Board of Appeals, then to the circuit court. And if the circuit court determines that whatever the violation is that's being alleged is actually true, then that's it. It's just a long process. I'm not sure that it's in the public interest. So I don't know if consider ending it at the circuit court.
Either way, I don't think it matters to what level you take it to. If it's an appealable process, it's a questionable, it's being a legal challenge as to why it wasn't a violation or not. So I don't know if there's a level where you want to stop it. I mean, you're just, the easiest process is to allow it to, with like even a lot of different code enforcement cases, if they're appealing a situation for, say, or you're making an application for a variance, but it started out as a code enforcement. As that person's going through the process, we stay our enforcement proceedings while they are trying to go through their process of getting their application approved, even if it's been appealed. So we kind of stay our enforcement proceedings. It's part of our practice that we do with code enforcement, because the individual's trying to correct a wrong, or be compliant. And I think that's what they're making their argument, is that they are compliant. So I don't know if there's a level of the court system. It's really a legal question, I guess, maybe, but of where you would stop that due process, if you will.
Right. I was just going to ask our secretary whether or not to limit it to circuit court would violate due process.
I think Mr. Gutwald hit the nail on the head. You're in a sense putting an artificial
Right.
restriction or an artificial barrier on what degree of due process degree of process constitutes due process, and that can be a slippery slope. I think if you make arbitrary, I don't mean this in a negative way, but in a decision just based on let's cut it off here rather than here.
Right, right. I understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments from the members? Is there a motion to approve the amendments to Bill 18-23? We've passed that already?
No. Motion and second.
Been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the amendments to 18-23.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Catch, Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Ertel,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The amendments to Bill 18-23 has passed. Any questions or comments?
Bill's
18-23 as amended?
amendment.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second. Second.
Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 18-23 as amended.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Catch, Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Ertel,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Bill 18-23 as amended is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is Bill 19-23. This bill is sponsored by all council members and is the council's annual adoption, in this case, the 2023 Basic Services Maps.
Ms. DeAndrea Walk.
Just in case we have any technical questions.
Technical questions, like turn it on the mic.
Yes. All right. Article 4A of the Baltimore County zoning regulations sets out the provisions for the growth management in Baltimore County. The growth management provisions are designed to facilitate implementation of the master plan with specific regard to the quality and timing of new growth and development. Article 4A also requires that the 3 basic services maps for water, sewer, and transportation be prepared annually by executive agencies, planning, DPW, and T. And therefore, the planning board must recommend to the county council any proposed annual revisions to those maps. On last week, we did extensive testimony around the 3 maps and any deficits we had on those 3 maps. It is also, the council is required to hold 1 public hearing prior to the adoption of the maps. And that hearing was also scheduled last week. Bill 1923 repeals the 2022 Basic Services Map and enacts the 2023 Basic Services Map. With that, I'll take any questions that you all may have.
Questions or comments from the members?
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Katz?
Yes, I want to thank your department for meeting with me earlier today. And as you know, this morning I had a meeting with constituents who have a problem with the sewer map and claiming that some of the issues that were identified in the RKK survey of our system had not been resolved. And I really appreciate the briefing that your department gave me and Councilman Patoka. We found it to be very informative. I would like the opportunity, though, to go back to my constituents and brief them on what's going on. I mean, I think they have a legitimate concern to be worried about whether or not our sewer system can take a large storm, et cetera. You know, are we going to have a situation where we're going to have leaking sewers and water mixing with it going into our streams, et cetera? So, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we, I'm going to say the word special order, thinking of Annapolis, but delay the vote on this bill for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, what is it?
Mr. Catch, the bill would be extended to the May 25th budget adoption and combined legislative session with the work session on Tuesday, May the 16th.
Is that within the 65 days?
Yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, I would move we.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Instead of saying 3 weeks, do we want to say just the date of the next
May.
meeting? Just semantically.
May 20, what is it?
It would be the May 25th legislative session with the work session for that on May 16th, which is Tuesday.
Okay, so I move that we delay the consideration of the bill until the 16th for the public hearing and the 25th for final vote.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Just want to thank Ms. Walker and her team and Ms. Rogers for meeting with myself and Councilman Catch. And thank you, Councilman Catch, for inviting me to the meetings where we were concerned about some of the sewage capacity and the infiltration and inflow in the areas that straddle both the second and third district. So I think it's very healthy when the executive branch and the legislative branch can engage in a dialogue that serves to improve the health and infrastructure of Baltimore County. And so really appreciate it and look forward to resolving some of these. We talked about some budgeting items in the future that may help to address some of the concerns that we've seen. And so appreciate everyone. And Councilman Catch, I know this may not sound right, but I appreciate you taking a deep dive into the sewerage issues of Baltimore County.
Thank you. I would, following along that remark, I might say and might realize that most of these sewer problems are in your district, not mine. Your comeback?
We will resolve these together as a county and as a region.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any additional discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Grant?
If I may, Director Walker, what role does Baltimore City play into both the issue at hand and with the basic services maps in general, considering that they are the owner?
So as it relates to the sewer map specifically, as you know, the pipes that we use are connected between Baltimore City and Baltimore County. So we do coordination between Baltimore City and Baltimore County for expansion or corrections or replacements that we have to make with the pipes. So that would be the extent, us having conversations with them about when they're going to do their upgrades, repairs, rehabilitation, versus when we're going to do it, so that we can be in coordination, so that we can, so that our projects can move forward. However, it doesn't always work out as well as you would like because they have their priorities as it relates to SSOs, and we have our priorities as it relates to SSOs, but we have done, I would say, a better job at having those conversations so that we can do the coordination.
Okay, and then, so I understand the coordination aspect and been around long enough to know what that looks like for a variety of different infrastructure issues that arise. How about cost?
In terms of the cost, we cover the cost of the replacement for our sewer pipes.
Okay, even though they own it.
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, we have to pay.
Okay, even though we pay through the Metropolitan District Fund, right?
We do a true up at the end of each year for the replacements that we have to do. Well, when we hire a contractor to come out and do our, if we do a capital project, we hire the contractor, we pay that contractor. But when there's pipes that burst and things like that, we do a true up at the end of each year. But these projects, our consent decree projects, I bring a lot of items before you all to hire consultants and award contracts. We pay directly when we hire those contractors to come and do the replacements.
Right. Well, maybe this is a discussion for your budget hearing and maybe not for tonight's purposes, but yeah, I'll leave it. I'll let it go until then, maybe.
Okay.
So, but just quickly, again, off topic, but just throws more light into the Regional Water Authority Task Force that was just created by the General Assembly. So I know a lot of eyes will be on that report, which I think is due, if I'm not mistaken, in January of 24, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, just sort of because that confusion over that certainly the public has, and some of us may be on the dais as well, the confusion over who owns what, who's responsible for what, and who's paying for what. It's sort of an antiquated sort of system that we have here, and I think that you certainly are working through it as much as you can, but from a council member standpoint, at least for mine, it's a bit confusing. So, like I said, I meant to leave it at what I said I was leave it at, and I kept on rambling. But yeah, maybe we talk about this more in the budget hearing.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Rogers.
I just want to make it clear, though, this additional piece we're working on has nothing to do with Baltimore City. This has everything to do with Baltimore County and what we have to finalize in an issue that was unfinished. This is not a Baltimore City issue that we've agreed to work out the final details with Councilmember Catch and Councilmember Patoka. It's not a Baltimore City issue at all.
Okay, great. Okay, I think that goes to my second part of the question is what might this have to do with the basic services map? So that you answered it. Thank you.
Okay, well, Ms. Walker, I'd like to thank you so much for being so responsive to myself as well as the other council members who had questions and or concerns. We understand that there is a plan of action.
Yes, sir.
And everybody seems to be on the right path, the right course to get it done. So I thank you so much. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any additional discussion? Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the delay.
Yes, sir. Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Ertel,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Thank you very much.
It is delayed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is Bill 20-23. This bill is sponsored by the chair. Zoning regulations, uses permitted in the RC2 zone, catering halls converted from dwellings.
Okay, this is a repeat. And basically, this is a situation where we went through a long process. Like to thank Councilman Catch. It started when it was his district. It spilled over into my district. When it became my district, I worked with the community. We had we had town hall meetings. We had God knows how many other meetings we've had. And we've come up with a bill that appears to be reasonable in scope and size in terms of giving people throughout Baltimore County the assurances that this won't proliferate all of Baltimore County, yet it will be confined to a specific geographic area. And hopefully it will not cause any problems at all. And of course, if it does, we're always here to change it. So, are any questions or comments from the members? Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Ertel,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
No.
Mr. Patoka.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Bill 20-23 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is Bill 21-23, sponsored by Councilman Ertel, zoning regulations, uses permitted in the ROA zone, interior design studio with retail sales as an accessory use to office use.
So I've introduced this bill because we have a lot of ROA in the Towson area and all in all kinds of parts of the county. And I was just looking to be able to provide some flexibility to interior decorators in particular who might want to sell a ware that they have in one of their showrooms in a building that looks like a house. They currently technically cannot sell a lamp or a rug. And this just gives some flexibility so we don't lose those owners or tenants to a more business related zoning. So I think it's a good bill to just give us some flexibility.
Questions or comments from the members? Mr. Secretary, please call a roll on Bill 21-23.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Ertel,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Catch.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Bill 21-23 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is Bill 22-23. This bill is also sponsored by Councilman Ertel. Zoning regulations, signs, joint identification signs on wall mounted or canopy.
Okay, so another bill that is just giving some flexibility. We had a business that has revamped their facade, and they took down an existing sign that had been approved back in 2016, and there was a slight technicality because the sign that was approved in 2016 was not reviewed for the sign going over the roof line by 1.5 feet, and which leads the business owner to potentially have to go through a hearing that would take 6 months. And I'm just trying to provide some flexibility so we can put a sign back up. And also, we have a brand new retailer who potentially will not have a sign for 4 months if we have to put them back through the hearing. So I thought it was reasonable to put this bill in.
Councilman Ertel, and like I said the other day, business without a sign is a sign of no business. Any questions, comments from the members? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve Bill 22-23?
So moved.
There is an amendment,
Oh, there is an amendment.
a very technical amendment, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I apologize.
It merely, the amendment merely clarifies that in the purpose paragraph, as well as the title of the bill, that the type of joint identification sign that is the subject of the bill is a wall-mounted or canopy sign.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the amendment to Bill 22-23?
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the amendment to Bill 22-23.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Ertel,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Catch.
Aye.
Mr. Crandall.
Aye.
Ayes have it. The amendment to Bill 22-23 is passed. Are there any questions, comments from the members on Bill 22-23 as amended?
Move favorable.
It's been moved Is there a motion to approve Bill 22-23 as amended? Been moved? Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 22-23 as amended.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Ertel,
Aye.
Mr. Catch.
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mr. Crandall.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Bill 22-23 as amended is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is Bill 23-23. This bill is sponsored by council members Marks, Catch, Patoka, and Ertel. Planned unit developments, revocation of resolution approving continued review.
Hey, Councilman Marks.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank my three colleagues for their sponsorship. And I do know there is an amendment offered, but when that amendment is adopted, which I believe it will be, the bill will modify the current process for a plan unit development under certain circumstances to allow for revocation of a plan unit development within 90 days after a community input. In other words, the resolution will have to be introduced 90 days after the community input meeting. A PUD should reflect the highest standards of architecture, design, and thoughtful planning. It should also command significant community support. If a plan unit development is inherited from a council member different than that person who initially introduced it, then that subsequent council member should have the ability to revoke further consideration of that project.
Were you reading an amendment? Okay. Any questions or comments about the bill? Only thing I will add is I know that this issue has been spanning probably 3 or 4 years. I certainly, what I know is what I see from this seat here. I have not been there. I have not talked to the community. I've only witnessed what happened in the process as it has gone through the process for probably 4 years at least, because it was a source of conversations on the last CZMP, which so I certainly have some concerns just because of a process, but again, I'm not there. I just think that, we have to be very careful where we don't want to get into situations where we, in any way at all, give the appearance or the impression that we are not resolute in what we do with the business community, that we do not somehow give the impression, the appearance at all that decisions that are made by this council and then people then in turn act accordingly and spend their money and make plans and do things, that we do not vacillate and then come back and change our minds. Even though the people sitting in the council district may change, we as Baltimore County have to be very cognizant of the fact that we don't want to get to a point where we are a place that is not resolute in our decisions. And that could, in fact, be, played out when we're trying to attract other businesses to Baltimore County. We don't want the reputation to somehow stain us in a way that may not even be true. But you know how rumors get started and then people make a mountain into molehill into a mountain, and it goes on and on and on. But that said, I'm not there. I'm just sitting here. I'm not talking to the community. I have no idea. Any additional questions or comments?
Can I just say one thing?
Go right ahead.
It's been my experience over the past 3 terms that the most successful developments are the ones that bring people together and where all elected officials are engaged. And should this legislation pass, I think it would lead to better government because a council member who introduces a resolution would reach out potentially to the people that are following that council member. Good example, when I was leaving the Towson area as council member, I told people, talk to the Democratic candidate, talk to the Republican candidate, brief them. That's good government.
Well, I appreciate it. And Why don't we go with the amendment to Bill 23-22?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The amendment sponsored by Councilman Crandall would tighten the bill as drafted. Current law allows a council member to introduce a resolution to amend or modify a planned unit development within 90 days of the community input meeting. The bill as drafted includes the ability to revoke the PUD in addition to amending or modify the PUD within 90 days of the community input meeting. The amendment offered by Councilman Crandall tightens that in a sense by saying that if after passage of a resolution authorizing the review of a planned unit development, the councilmanic representation of the district where the planned unit development is located changes to a council member other than the council member who sponsored the resolution authorizing the review, the succeeding council member may introduce a resolution to revoke approval for that planned unit development at any time within 90 days after the conclusion of the community input meeting. So it contemplates one council member introducing a PUD resolution, and then a succeeding council member having the potential ability to revoke that PUD within 90 days of the community input meeting, rather than just that being blank.
Okay.
Rather than not specifying it in that way.
Just a point of clarification on the amendment. Would that hold true if one council member was replaced by another council member? Same difference?
Yes.
Okay.
The amendment doesn't specify any manner in which one council member would succeed another, because there are frankly a number of ways that could happen.
Mhm.
So rather than getting into the weeds of how that could happen, the amendment would just say, if it happens, the succeeding council member who did not introduce the resolution could, within 90 days of the CIM, introduce a resolution to revoke the PUD. So in other words, or another way of saying it is, the same council member who introduced the resolution would not have the ability later on to revoke that PUD. They would still retain the revisory power to amend or modify it if necessary, but they would not be able to revoke it, just a succeeding one.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the members on the amendment? Mr. Secretary, no, is there a motion to approve the amendment?
Yeah, I'll move it. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the amendment to Bill 23-23.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Ertel?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
The ayes have it. The amendment to Bill 23-23 is passed. Are there any questions or comments on the bill as amended? Is there a motion to approve Bill 23-23 as amended?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and is seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 23-23 as amended.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mr. Ertel?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Bill 23-23 as amended is passed. Mr. Secretary, next bill, please.
Mr. Chairman, Bill 24-23 was withdrawn prior to this evening's meeting.
May I say something about that?
Yes.
Thank you. I do want to briefly say something about this. I do think the council is going to have to look at what happens when property that is zoned neighborhood commons transfers from, say, the state or county government or a nonprofit or an HOA to another party. We have a situation in Perry Hall where property was owned by the State Highway Administration. It was zoned neighborhood commons or open space, and then it was sold to a private entity. And, under our law, neighborhood commons zoning really applies to a very small subset of the population. So I think we're going to have to look at that issue. It's a discussion for another day. And, that I'm going to be withdrawing this particular bill.
Thank you. Next item, Mr. Secretary.
Mr. Chairman, next is Bill 25-23. This bill is sponsored by Councilman Marks, zoning regulations, funeral establishments, and crematories.
Councilman Marks.
Thank you very much. As I mentioned at the work session, there are currently no state laws or regulations regarding the siting or zoning of crematories, and currently the Baltimore County zoning regulations do not regulate the use of a crematory, regardless of whether it's conjunction with a funeral establishment. This bill requires that a funeral establishment with a crematory in the DR and BL zones that is constructed after the effective date of the bill be located 500 feet away from a residential property. I believe, and I think many of my constituents agree, that there should be distance requirements for the operation of a crematorium, as exists in numerous states and localities across the United States. I've detailed at the work session the increasing popularity of crematoria. The projected cremation rate for 2025 is 63.3%. It's expected to grow to 69% by 2030 and 78% by 2040. Perhaps if the council chooses not to support this legislation, it is an issue that the planning board can examine. Regarding the specific issue of the crematorium proposed for White Marsh, I do thank the Evans Funeral Chapel for engaging community leaders last month. Evans is a well-regarded member of Baltimore County's business community that has served families for generations. No one disputes that. I think the objection within the community is the siting of this proposed crematorium. I've asked that you consider the very thoughtful comments made by many community leaders who have specific concerns and have related objections from the businesses that surround this proposed project. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman.
Right ahead.
Yes, the state of Maryland does have regulations regarding the crematory industry. However, these regulations do not deal with the distance that a crematory needs to be from a residence. I think this is an issue that needs to be addressed, and I'd like to see the planning department take a look at it. And Mr. Chairman, I move to lay the bill on the table.
Okay, is you moving to table the bill?
Yep, lay the bill on the table.
Lay it on the table. All right. Are there any questions or comments?
It's not debatable.
It's not debatable. We can have is there a second?
I'll
I'll
second.
second it. It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mr. Ertel,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
No.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it. The bill is tabled. Next item, Mr. Secretary.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is Bill 26-23. This bill is sponsored by Councilman Crandall, Development Vesting.
Councilman Crandall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This Bill 2623 would extend the time for construction of a vested development plan that receives growth allocation in the Chesapeake Bay critical area. Of particular concern is a specific development in my district. However, this would be a countywide bill for all properties that have received growth allocation. I would appreciate my colleagues' support on the bill.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the members? Okay, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 26-23.
I'm going to move it.
It's been moved.
Second.
Okay, moved, seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall, Mr. Ertel,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Bill 26-23 is passed. Council will now consider all fiscal matters. Extensive testimony was taken at the council's work session on April 25th. The witnesses who testified at the work session is available to restate their testimony if needed. I'll now call upon the secretary to read the cover letter to fiscal matters 1 through 14.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. First is Fiscal Matter 1, a purchase order with WMAR Television. Fiscal Matter 2 is a contract with Public Resources Advisory Group Incorporated. Fiscal Matter 3 is a lease agreement with St. John Properties Incorporated. Fiscal Matter 4 is a contract with McLaren Technical Services Incorporated. Fiscal Matter 5 is a contract with Prologue Incorporated. Fiscal Matter 6 is a contract of sale of 305 Washington LLC, that is the owner, for the acquisition of a 6-story building on Washington Avenue in Towson. Fiscal Matter 7 is 3 amendments to contracts for custodial services. Fiscal Matter 8 is a contract with ARK Systems Incorporated. Fiscal Matters 9 through 14 are contracts of sale as follows: Michael Durham Conservation Easement, 5801 Emery Road. Melanie Redding, acquisition of a parcel, 6503 Windsor Mill Road. Rosa Lovo Maria Lovo Zavala, acquisition of parcel at 6716 Windsor Mill Road. Kenneth and Emma Miguel, acquisition of a parcel at 6510 Windsor Mill Road. Samuel and Annette English, acquisition of a parcel at 6511 Windsor Mill Road. And Rosa Lovo Maria Lovo Zavala Gustavo Soto, acquisition of a parcel at 6505 Windsor Mill Road.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from the members?
Yes, Mr.
Everybody satisfied with the order?
I just wanted to comment on the pedestrian safety measures on Windsor Mill Road. Appreciate your leadership on this, Mr. Chair, as you started this many, many years ago. And I just wanted to point out, based on the discussions we've had today about sanitary sewer, our infrastructure needs that are linear in nature, they take many years to accomplish, but at some point you have to start it and chip away at it until 10 years later, it starts to come to fruition. So thank the executive, the county executive for beginning implementation on these sorely needed pedestrian safety measures on Windsor Mill Road.
Additional questions, comments?
Do we need Director Pesterfield to come up to?
Yes, he seems very anxious. He's very anxious to testify again.
Well, if you want to hear from Director Pesterfield, all you have to do is get. Do you want Director Pesterfield?
That's okay. He's new. He'll get hit from the
No,
program soon enough.
We're good. We think he's doing a good job.
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. So, let me just thank the administration for responding to some of the questions and concerns of the council members as it related to 305 Washington. And I understand that, it even included a tour. I think the members certainly appreciated that and appreciated the supporting documentation as well. So I think that satisfied a lot of concerns. So are there any additional questions or comments on fiscal matters 1 through 14? Okay. Is there a motion to approve fiscal matters 1 through 14?
So moved.
I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on fiscal matters 1 through 14.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Ertel?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Fiscal matters 1 through 14 are approved. We'll now consider all the remainder of miscellaneous business. Mr. Secretary, first item, please.
First is Resolution 10-23. This resolution is sponsored by the chairman, and this resolution would establish the Owings Mills Commercial Revitalization District.
Mr. Secretary, I'm going to lay it on the table and move it on to the next meeting.
All right, we will defer that to the next meeting.
And again, I want to thank the administration for working with me. There's a few hangups that we're working through, and we just need more time to get it done. But I certainly appreciate the time of a couple of departments, as well as others who came together and met over a Zoom call for probably over an hour discussing it. So I want to thank the Northwest Chamber of Commerce for all their advocacy on this issue. And if they're watching, which I'm sure they are, stay tuned. We haven't given up on you. We just need a little more time to get it right. So next item, Mr. Secretary.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Next item is Resolution 11-23. This resolution is sponsored by Councilman Crandall and would authorize the property tax exemption for Mr. Jeffrey Niemeyer, who, as a blind person, is entitled to a partial exemption under state law.
I'll move the resolution.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Ertel?
Aye.
The ayes have it, and it's just a reminder, remember when we used to have like 10 or 20 of those a meeting?
Yes.
It just went on and on and on, all the disabled veterans and spouses and blind. Next item, Mr. Secretary.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. And just as a quick note, a change in state law made that so, in a sense, the county is no longer the middleman or the county council, and so they can go directly rather than having to have the council introduce and pass a resolution.
Well, I think they changed it, but somehow this one made it through.
Well, there are a few every now and again, based on the timing that do. So that's why we have so few.
Well,
And frankly, I'm sorry to interrupt. We don't have any more disabled veteran ones, but a few for blind people still.
okay. And I tell you, I've often, to be quite frank, I'll be a little critical of the General Assembly because, you know, at the end of the day, we need this money to pay for schools, roads, and we certainly want to be supportive of people who are disabled or have other issues. But give money, say to somebody they don't have to pay taxes from this day forward. We're going to give you a 3-year refund on money we spent. Constantly do it. You get to a point where in 5 years, you're giving away an elementary school. You're giving away literally 30, about $6-7 million a year. But that said, we'll move on. Next item.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Next is Resolution 12-23. This is a resolution sponsored by Councilman Marks. Revocation of approval of resolution and PUD application, BC Middle River Park, for introduction only this evening.
Okay. Next item, Mr. Secretary.
Next is Resolution 13-23. This is a resolution sponsored by Councilman Ertel, requesting that the Planning Board review short-term rentals for introduction only this evening.
I have some thoughts on that, so you could put me down with Councilman Ertel.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Sure. Next item, Mr. Secretary.
Final item this evening, Mr. Chairman, is Resolution 14-23. This is also sponsored by Councilman Ertel and asks the Planning Board to review regulations related to potential regulations related to EV charging stations.
Well, thank you. And I guess when I make sure I clarify my statements, because I don't want anybody running out of here saying that I don't support disabled veterans or disabled citizens. I certainly do. My criticism is oftentimes legislation come from the General Assembly that we have nothing to do with or no say in, and then it costs us money. And I guess since we're the ones responsible for the money to pay for the schools, roads, police, fire, and all those things, we should have input. That was my issue, not with any disabled Americans at all.
Yes,
That-
sir.
So we
We
cleaned that up.
understand, Chair.
We cleaned that up.
Yes, sir. And
I
14.
thought I cleaned it up. Somebody will probably still hit me with it later, but whatever.
1423 is also just for introduction only.
Okay, fantastic. Let me see. As is custom, okay, wait a minute. Is any further business to come before the council?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. The meeting is adjourned. As is customary, anyone who is registered to speak online prior to the meeting is allowed 3 minutes to speak. Ms. Belcastro, are there any speakers who signed up this evening?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have a few speakers. Our first speaker is
Bob
Robert Bendler. Mr. Bendler. Mr. Bendler, you're on as a panelist. You may begin your testimony.
Hello?
Yes.
Can you
We
hear
can
me?
hear you. Yes, we
Okay.
can.
Good evening. First, I'd like to thank the council members for their support and adoption of Bill 2323. And I would like to encourage you to approve Resolution 12-23, which was just put in for introduction this evening. And that request is in view of the many concerns and issues that have been raised regarding this PUD project, which include concerns not only of the communities, but also legal issues that have been raised. So voting to revoke this PUD is very appropriate and will very, very much be appreciated. Thank you.
Well, I thank you, Mr. Bender. We certainly appreciate your comments.
You're
Next
welcome.
speaker, Ms. Belcastro.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Our next speaker is Joan Mealy Kruger. You're on as a panelist. We can hear you. Ms. Mealy Kruger?
And what time was he found?
Baltimore County Council calling Joan.
And who pronounced?
Baltimore County Council calling Joan.
What is it? Wilson. And do you know what managed number that was?
Okay, we'll keep Joan on and we'll move on to the next person because we don't want to be eavesdropping on the call.
Well, and
You ever have it when somebody like
to be, this is,
pocket dial you and you're listening to their conversation? The polite thing is to hang up,
and this is a good point, to make a point. When you are registering on these WebEx, it is nice if you put your last name because she is the only Joan on here and we only have one Joan. So I'm assuming that it is the same Joan, but I
Okay.
cannot confirm that.
All right, well, we'll move on to Josh and then we'll come back to Joan.
Yes. Josh signs and he is here in person.
All right. We don't want to, we may hear the wrong thing. Say, oh my God. Good evening, sir. Well, we thank you so much for being here and appreciate your comments. Really appreciate you hanging in there. I know it's a long meeting, but we appreciate you being here. Sure. Next speaker is,
I'm going to call on the next speaker, who is Pat Hook. You're on as a panelist. You may begin your testimony.
Just wanted to say I'm
Are you
happy
there?
with the vote on the Councilman Marks's resolution as far as the PUD is concerned. The Hawthorne community, we fully support Councilman Marks's resolution, and we feel that the PUD should be revoked due to numerous things that we've been coming up with over the past 6 or 8 months. I just want to reiterate what Bob Bendler said, what Josh has said, and we fully support revoking the PUD. That's all I need to say. Thank you.
well, thank you very much, Mr. Hook. We appreciate you. No, Mr. Sines, right? That was Mr. Hook. We appreciate you being here. Appreciate your comments. Thank you so much. All right. Do we have Miss Joan? Is she back?
I tried to reach out to her in the chat. I will try, get her on again, and hopefully it's the right Joan.
Okay. We'll wait a couple of minutes.
Ms. Mealy Kruger, are you there? I don't think.
One more chance, give her.
Ms. Mealy Kruger? Joan?
Okay. Baltimore County Council calling Joan once. Baltimore County Council calling Joan Mealy Kruger twice. Baltimore County Council calling Joan Mealy Kruger 3 times. Okay, nothing from Miss
Hello.
Joan. Oh, there you go. There you go.
Skin of your teeth.
Tell me
I
that.
just put her back in as a panelist. Hold on 1 second. No, she's in the panelist list.
It's like a game show, right at the last minute, right?
Gavel's ready to come down.
Miss Mealy Kruger, I have you on as a panelist. Now I can't unmute her.
Are you there?
Are you there?
Yeah, are you?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Sorry about all this. Good evening. My name is Jo Mealy Kruger. I'm a resident of Middle River. I would like to thank everyone who voted for the Bill 2323. The passage of this bill is the first step in a process to help Middle River area in their fight to stop the massive project VC Middle River Park on the LaFarge property. Resolution 3922 had passed in a vote of 4-3 by the county council, and there was a lot of issues prior to that vote. So what we're asking and what we really need at this point is the support for the resolution 1223 that was submitted by Councilman Marks tonight to revoke the PUD, because there is a lot of questions amongst the people in Middle River about this. We had a community input meeting where hundreds of people showed up, were very upset. There was more turned away. So this issue really needs to be looked at, and we're going to really need a lot of support from everyone regarding this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joan, and we certainly appreciate you being here with us this evening virtually. And I must say, you are probably the most anticipated caller we had today.
Oh, my Lord.
There was so much drama. I'm not sure how much of it you
Sorry.
heard, but we appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Any additional comments or questions from the members before we adjourn? Okay, the meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone.